Hey, my name is Jen Johnson. I'm the Chief Product Officer at ConstructConnect. I am based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I have been here for about 16 and a half years. At ConstructConnect, I run our product and marketing teams, and I am thrilled to talk to everyone today about just trends that we're seeing from AI and machine learning in the pre-construction space. So I think that AI is such a buzzword right now. And I say like in the industry, but like in the market at large. So people are talking about, artificial intelligence is going to come in and it's going to take the job of a screenwriter. It's going to take the job of an estimator. It's going to take the job of a store clerk. It's going to do all these things. And so there'll be no people with jobs, only robots running the world. And I kind of laugh at that because no, I don't think that's possible. I also don't think that anyone really truly wants that. For folks who are intimidated or, scared of artificial intelligence, either because they think it might replace their job or because it's just like a really complicated concept to truly understand, I would posit this. I would say many of us, most of us, probably all of us, are already impacted by artificial intelligence in our everyday lives in really positive ways that feel like they're bringing benefits to us. We don't always know that it's even explicitly artificial intelligence that is providing the good or service or experience that we're having. So for example, every time I log into Netflix, there's some sort of new recommendation that's in there. And oftentimes they are so spot on, it's scary. It's because they have tons of models who understand who I am, what I'm doing, what I'm watching, how long I watch something, how many times I rewatch something. I have, shows that I watch because they're comfort shows. So I watch them if I'm going to go to bed because I like someone to talk to me as I'm going to sleep, or if I'm traveling. And then I have other genres of shows like documentaries or true crime things that I watch on more of like a one-off basis. And so I'll get like recommendations for those. But my comfort shows are always somewhere in my queue. And when it's suggesting things to me, it knows the right balance of things. Like Netflix knows to never give me a drama. I do not have the attention span to make it through there, but there's a great documentary about a serial killer from the 70s. Unfortunately, that's totally in my wheelhouse. So it knows to give it to me. And experiences like that are absolutely driven by artificial intelligence. And most users, most consumers, perhaps don't even explicitly realize that that's what's happening. Or the email campaigns that you get for, some of your favorite items that are on sale, or how do they know in the Instagram algorithm that this new watch band is probably the exact right thing for you, for your demographic, for your lifestyle. There are so many enhancements to processes and experiences that folks have that are AI based, where we're not saying, hey, it's AI, it's AI. You just know that the recommendations that are coming back to you seem like they're a better fit, or the gift ideas that you're getting for your friends and family seem to be really right on track, or the recipes that are being served up to you, or the offers that are being presented to you are really in alignment with what you're doing. Or sometimes, let's say you're doing an expense report and you log in and things are automatically associated in a way that makes a lot more sense than the last time you were there. And the workflow seems a lot easier and it just seems faster to get your work done. A lot of those experiences are driven by AI. And I think that there's a lot of attention right now in the market and explicitly calling out like, this is artificial intelligence. You should pay attention to it. It's really, really great. Or it's really, really scary and it's artificial intelligence. And I think what we need to think about from an AI perspective is not implementing it, again, for the sake of just saying that we have some sort of AI implemented, but really to think about like, how can implementing bits of AI from here to there automate some of the mundane things that people are already doing? How can we save people time? How can we improve experiences? And I would say if you're a construction professional and you're taking a look at the tools that are available to you, take a look at that. Like, where can your workflows be improved? Where can your experience be optimized? Where can your time be more spent on pieces of work where you as a human, as a thinking human, can provide more value? look for those kinds of opportunities with artificial intelligence. I don't think that AI is going to replace any estimators. I think there is always going to be an element of human interaction there, right? I mean, for all the reasons there should be. Plans are going to come in incorrect, right? Not everything is perfect. There are conversations that are going to need to be had. We need to work through problems and collisions and just like other natural things that are just, a result of the human experience. And so, for those reasons, I say use AI to your advantage. Use it as your secret weapon, as your tool in your tool belt that helps you be more productive. What are the things that you can automate from AI? And it doesn't have to be, even specifically a pre-construction tool. Think about how you can optimize the time in your calendar. How can you use things like ChatGPT or Copilot to get answers for you more quickly, to organize your thoughts, to create a cover letter for you, to send out templated reminders to people that you're working on projects with. If you think about AI as how it can improve your life as opposed to just improving your job, I think the aperture of opportunities to leverage it becomes much wider. I will say one of my favorite recent interview questions is, hey, what is the most interesting way that you've used AI this week? I love hearing how people that I'm running across how they are trying out, testing, and effectively using different forms of artificial intelligence. I think on the consumer side, a lot of it is using ChatGPT. On the work side, a lot of it is using ChatGPT. So I would say don't be afraid of it. Test it out, test out AI, and really think give it the classic, what have you done for me lately question. It's what can you do for me today? Because it can do a ton. Exploring how prompt engineering can improve a lot of the processes that you are just used to going through, how you can automate some of those or how you can make them less painful for you is a great investment of time. So I say, don't be scared. Instead, embrace the technology. Try it a little by little. You don't have to dive straight in, but just try something out every week, something a little bit new. See what works for you. Tweak your experience, talk to your colleagues and friends and understand how they're using it as well. Because sometimes some of the most interesting ideas come from the most unexpected places. So just ask people, what are you doing with AI? Because for a lot of folks, they started using it and then they're like, oh yeah, I guess that is AI. I was just thinking of it as the Chat GPT. The Chat GPT is all about artificial intelligence and really just has so many ways to make a lot of just routine processes much, much better for you. So AI is being implemented in a bunch of different ways across the pre-construction industry. If we think about it from the earliest time that you have heard about or are aware of a project through the time that someone is submitting an estimate or submitting a bid, there are a lot of different places where people are implementing or testing out with artificial intelligence and machine learning and computer vision and that whole collection of data science to try and improve the lives of users. The applications that I think are most interesting are not necessarily where people are using AI to say that they have an AI thing, they're creating a new product, but instead where we see companies really going in, understanding the existing workflow of a customer, understanding where there's a whole bunch of friction in that process and creating a new, more streamlined process that oftentimes leverages AI to get someone from point A to point B more quickly, more painlessly, and a little bit more delightfully. So in our industry, there's a whole bunch of new players that are popping up, and some of them are popping up because they've said, hey, we're not really that familiar with the pre-construction space. We know you have a lot of data, you have a lot of information. There's probably something that AI can do. So they're getting in there and they're just trying to do something with AI. And that's interesting. But there are also several well-established players, both in the data side and the takeoff and estimating side. And instead of saying, hey, I want to put AI somewhere, they're saying, what are our customers doing right now? And honestly, how can I make their lives easier? And from my perspective, where I sit, I think that's one of the most valuable applications is, changing user behavior is hard. Improving a process that someone is familiar and comfortable with is much easier and is oftentimes perceived as much more valuable to the end user. So for me, where I see folks, putting in the thought and the time and the patience to implement AI in a way that really provides value, to me, that's what's really moving the needle in the pre-construction space right now. There's a ton of activity in the takeoff and estimating part of our industry, specifically because there are all these different models and computer vision models that allow us to, for the first time ever, read in a picture of a plan, a construction blueprint, and understand it. So understand where a wall is, what the area of a room looks like, to make connections between different pages of documents. So I've got a wall here and it's got a little series of numbers and letters that are attached to it in a square. What that square is actually an indicator of a wall type. That wall type is actually presented on a different page, and that wall type is going to give me all the values and characteristics of that specific wall. And for the first time ever, artificial intelligence is able to help us identify those walls, make those connections, and create those conditions within an application. So there's a ton of interest right now from different startups or AI and ML players in kind of coming into the pre-construction industry to try and revolutionize it. One of the places where I think ConstructConnect has a unique advantage there is that we really understand what our customers are trying to do. Like we get what an estimator is trying to do when they're doing a takeoff or trying to get to an estimate, and being able to marry that, customer intimacy, we have that like specific knowledge of what they're actually trying to accomplish with the technologists who understand how to make that connection, for me is something that's really fun and unique for ConstructConnect. And there's many places across our product suite where we're really looking to do that. But that, for me, is the most interesting application, is when you're trying to solve a problem, you're trying to automate something that the user is already doing that they know is valuable and important. I think one of the concerns that estimators have when they start thinking about artificial intelligence and if they should use it or not is, well, how do I know if it's accurate? What if it's not very good? What am I going to do? What if it gets it wrong? And then all of a sudden I've submitted an estimate or a takeoff and then create an estimate off of that is wildly inaccurate and it cost me my job. Here's what I would say. Artificial intelligence is not replacing humans. It is still well within your realm of responsibility, and I would implore you to always check up on anything that AI has created. Specifically when we're talking about a takeoff, I like to think about AI-assisted takeoff as a draft, right? We oftentimes hear that it is harder to create than it is to edit. Like if you give me something to react to, that's a lot easier for me to do than you give me a blank sheet of paper and ask me to create, a masterpiece. I would love to see your draft of something and then give you my feedback. Like, hey, we're really on track here. I just need to tweak a couple of things. Or, whoa, Nelly, we really just need to start from scratch here, which sometimes may be the case, especially when you're using emerging technologies. So what I would say is, listen, just get started. Just try out some AI-assisted takeoff. You'll probably learn from using it, like where the application is really solid and it's going to get you to a good, base draft of something that you can edit, versus like, hey, when I get plans that feel like this, it's just not a great fit yet. And that's fine. I don't think that anyone thinks that the AI-assisted takeoff that's in the market right now is going to work super well for every use case. I think that as you talk to the folks who are creating models and the software providers who have these solutions out in the marketplace, they can give you a really good idea of where their flavor of AI-assisted takeoff works best. At ConstructConnect, we're really focused on interior finishes, so interior finish contractors, and conceptual estimating for general contractors. We do both of those things pretty well right now. That is where we're focused. We're trying to make sure that we get really good kind of end-to-end user experience there before we start adding on more and more trades. So you'll see us like continuing to perfect that experience, because we want to make sure that we are providing enough value to our users so they want to consistently use that AI-assisted takeoff experience. Now, for folks who think to getting started with AI, like I need some sort of special training or I need some sort of special skills. I'll say two things. If you're using a tool where AI is embedded, the skill that you need is curiosity. You need to be able to just use that tool, understand where it's working, understand how it's working a little bit, not the complicated backend stuff of it, but just understanding like, hey, what should it be doing? What do I see it doing? And then you figure out where it is that you need to kind of course correct, right? Because again, it's not going to be perfect. If you want to get started with things that aren't necessarily already built into a tool, like if you want to start getting really good at like prompt engineering with ChatGPT, or you want to do some automation with some PowerShell scripts, I would say I honestly love going to YouTube for all sorts of tutorials. There is a massive amount of open source training information on prompt engineering, on using PowerShell scripts, all sorts of things like Power Automate that can help you, again, improve your processes, get to draft states of things far, far faster. Just be curious and just start exploring. Staying away from the technology is not helpful. It's going to make its way basically into every little crevice of our lives, but not in a negative way. It's going to provide a lot of value. And the best thing that you can do is to start playing around with it so you know where you might want a little bit more of it and where it might not yet be meeting your needs. So not necessarily to stay away from it, but to monitor it. So you'll know where to implement it, where to spend more time, and where to just kind of keep your eye on it because it's still evolving. Listen, AI is here to stay. It's exciting. It's not going to be replacing people, especially not estimators. So, just keep doing what you're doing, embrace the technology, and go try some things and be curious. Looking forward in the next 5 to 10 years in terms of AI's impact on the construction industry. If I think about the pre-construction space, which is where ConstructConnect really plays, I think about really unleashing the power of all the data that we have. So our industry is super data and communications heavy, right? At ConstructConnect, we are reporting on a couple 100,000 projects a year. We're getting millions of pages of plans and specifications, and there's a ton of content that's kind of trapped within those documents right now. But AI gives us, all the tools that we need to extract that information, kind of move it around in different ways, look at relationships between companies and products and owners and funding and all sorts of different attributes that in the past has been really hard for us to kind of centralize in one place. But now that we have a new tool set that we can layer on top of all the content that we have, I think that we're just going to get much better insights into what's actually going on in the industry, where there is demand, where demand is shifting, understanding trends in product specifications and in ownership structures and in funding and in company relationships. So I think all of that will be so much more accessible than it's been in the past. I think that will also lead to better, more real-time, accurate forecasting. Forecasting in the construction industry is something that people love to talk about, but is a little bit challenging. And I think AI is going to just give us some better insights and make us all a little bit better at that. And I think more broadly, like in the construction part of the construction industry, I am always thrilled by the automation that is going on. We are building 3D houses with robots right now. We are looking at how we can start building things on Mars, on different planets, just by using newer technologies, obviously some AI and some machine learning in there. But I just think the future of construction itself is really interesting. I love some of the technologies that we see with like modularized units using local building materials to like create a building material and construct something on site. Again, just using basically a large 3D printer. There's a neighborhood in Texas that's going up that just looks beautiful. That is all done through like 3D printing of of homes. And so I think that we're going to see a lot of automation in the actual construction phase of the construction industry. And I hope that as we see that happening, we also see an increase in workplace safety, and making sure that, all of our team members who are out there, who are on job sites and who are actually doing the really hard in-person work, I hope that we're able to make them a lot safer, and we're able to reduce not only workplace injury from accident, but also from repetitive motion. So I think that there's a lot of ways for technology to play in this space. I think it will also have an impact on our labor shortage, right? As we learn to automate some things, the labor shortage that we have been experiencing for the last 5 to 10 years, hopefully we'll shore that up a little bit more and be able to deploy people in new and more innovative ways than we maybe have in the past. So I think the future is certainly bright for the construction industry and for this space. It's been such a fascinating market to play in for the last decade and a half. I can't wait to see what the next decade and a half holds. It's been great spending a little bit of time with you today. Thank you so much for joining me as I shared what I see as the future of artificial intelligence in the construction industry. I think it is a bright, bright future for us. My parting words of wisdom would be: stay curious and go try some sort of new AI product or solution this week, and then share that with us. Please share in the comments what it is you tried, how it worked out for you, and whatever you do, embrace the technology. It is here to stay.